Yeah, hi, thank you. What a wonderful meeting. This is Billy Dunn. I'm the director of the Office of Neuroscience at the FDA, and I'm really thrilled to have been able to participate virtually in the entire meeting today. First, I very easily can echo the comments of Joseph and Peter. Really good meeting, tremendous information, and it's amazing to think where we've come in 1 year. Rare diseases are so critical. They're an explosive area of growth, and it's very rewarding to know that that growth accompanies a profound need. We've heard that 25 to 30 million Americans have over 7,000 rare diseases. We heard somebody today mention that, every time we see 10 people, one of them in America may have a rare disease. We really want to foster growth in this space, and that's one of the reasons that we've launched this effort. Most folks with the rare diseases we have heard don't have any approved treatments. We've certainly recognized, as we try to facilitate drug development across all the diseases we're responsible for, that working one by one with our drug developers and our interested scientists is inefficient, especially in this space where we have a lack of needed information that larger diseases often have. That individual work one by one, though, had allowed us to identify some of these common themes, particularly the absence of disease characterization, the gaps in knowledge that we need to fill in, our small, globally dispersed populations that require a comprehensive international effort. We're often working with small companies who might lack resources to independently conduct research that larger companies can do. We often lack the information that we have available to inform drug development and diseases in larger populations. The natural history of our conditions is poorly understood. The diseases themselves are often not as well understood due to perhaps to a lack of research infrastructure. Heterogeneity in these conditions is a real issue, and our endpoints need to be as fully informed as possible. It's this awareness of the inefficiency of these one-off efforts that really led us to launch the Rare Disease Cures Accelerator, and we're very excited about it. As you heard, there's three main areas. The main one that we are talking about today with our annual meeting, the Data and Analytics Platform, the DAP, which is really focused on disease characterization. But you heard also that we have two other critical arms that will leverage the information coming out of the DAPs. We're going to be developing core clinical outcome assessments for individual diseases or domains that are shared across diseases. And we're also going to be pursuing the clinical trials network, as we heard, for conducting clinical trials that leverage this information that we gain. The reason the RDCA-DAP is so critical is that it focuses on the characterization of the disease. And if we don't have a good characterization of the disease, we really can't do our job as scientists investigating therapy development for these diseases. Natural history, the variability of symptoms and experiences, the opportunities for clinical trial design are all addressed by a more robust characterization of disease. We regularly need to consider several things: how to power our trials to get to the outcomes we're interested in, how to select in our populations for enrollment, and importantly, how to select credible, reliable, accurate outcome measures that we can use to detect the beneficial effects that we're also eager to discover with our drug therapies. Without an adequate characterization of the diseases, we're shooting in the dark for all three of these things. So as we get this knowledge built up, these fundamental pieces of clinical trial design become much more fully informed. In addition, one of the really interesting things, and I think most exciting things about the Rare Disease Cures Accelerator Data Analytics Platform, is the notion that we really have this framework, this disease-neutral background framework that's not disease-specific, but that allows us to ingest data from a wide variety of sources, and then we're able to rapidly and efficiently layer a disease-specific approach for a given condition on top of this background framework. This raises one of the most exciting opportunities for me, which is that we may be illuminating and defining novel and progressive ways to define disease, to consider disease. We can look at pathophysiological relationships, biomarker behaviors. It might even illuminate the opportunity for a more precise mechanistic understanding of the disease and lead to a kind of cascade of scientific insights that can then ultimately be mechanistically targeted in a very precise way, with the opportunity to use measurements and observations from the data that we've aggregated to accelerate the development of the therapy under consideration. So this efficiency is quite critical, and this ability to integrate data from a wide variety of sources in this central pre-competitive repository is really going to be critical to enhance our clinical trials readiness as we continue to ride this wave of oncoming rare disease development, and we really want it to be as fully informed as possible. When I think back to the kickoff meeting last year, as a matter of fact, I think back earlier than that, I think to the genesis, the original discussions we had internally at the agency as we contemplated launching this effort. And I think back to the actual launch meeting a year ago, which was successful, large, very well attended. We just heard that it's about twice the size today, and it is a shame that we can't be together. It's certainly what we all wish, but I think it's more important that hopefully everybody is safe and healthy, and that's what we want to do to keep the acceleration going. But what I'm really struck by is what we've not only achieved in year one in such a short time, even with that successful launch, we're much further along now than we were, and that we have exciting milestones for year two. Particularly in year one, I'm so struck by the fact that in this formative year where we're building infrastructure and we were open for business, as we said at the launch meeting, we had people coming up and asking us, where can we send our data? Now we have 40 diseases represented in 10 different disease areas, and including some that are brand new to the effort after the launch of RDCA-DAP last year. We're not just leveraging existing data, but we have brought data in brand new areas as a reflection of this effort. Something critical about the milestones we heard for year two that I think is really worth emphasizing is in first quarter of 21, we're going to be opening RDCA-DAP for queries. That's going to be transformative, because when we actually have the data available for our scientists, whether in the agency, sister agencies, private scientists, academic scientists, industry scientists, when these data are available, this is going to be transformative. This is what's going to lead to the insights, the kind of symbiotic investigation of the underlying aspects of the disease, patterns that we don't even recognize are there will be observed. And I think we're really going to be seeing an exponential rise in our knowledge base that's going to further facilitate drug development and bring unanticipated levels of efficiency to our development in this space. It's a very exciting time to be part of this effort. We heard in some of the presentations about how transforming data just as data into actual information will allow us to answer questions, and particularly, as I just said, even those questions that we don't know that we have right now, the essence of scientific discovery. We're going to be providing tools and opportunities for that discovery. Also, I'm really glad to see that as we have heard throughout the discussion today, that the characteristics of the effort that will allow regulatory use and endorsement have been emphasized. That's a critical point, because what we really want to do is we don't just want to perform the important task of furthering independent scientific understanding, but we want that to be kind of applied scientific understanding. We want that understanding to lead to therapies for our patients. That's exactly what we want to do, and that's very important that we're all keeping that in mind. I was very happy to hear that. We hear about the power that this approach can have, particularly with regard to the aggregation of data. We heard from our colleague from Otsuka with the polycystic kidney disease that the power of data sharing and drug development, it can save years. That's years off of drug development. And of course, Klaus from Critical Path explained to us how that example in polycystic kidney disease was able to lead to the regulatory endorsement internationally of a critical biomarker to further development in that space. So these tangible hands-on examples are really promising, and I think illuminate the path forward for us as we see how effective aggregating data and then querying those data can be. It's so impressive to see the relationship between Critical Path Institute and NORD in this space. And you heard from both of their leaders just before me. Their robust enthusiasm and support in partnering not only with the agency, but with multiple third parties who are affiliated with this effort has been inspiring. It's a tremendous effort with a lot of people doing a lot of very good things. NORD has tremendous resources, tremendous reach. Critical Path Institute has tremendous experience managing this type of data. We heard about NORD's I Am Rare effort and how we're doing a wonderful job leveraging that. a really special point was made that each individual patient experience and each individual patient data point provides a critical and valuable insight in the rare disease space. That's always true, but the importance of it is elevated in the rare disease space, and that's something that we're trying so hard to respect, kind of a core principle of NORD as we partner with them and want to maximize the value of each of these data points. We're also really thrilled to see that the PKU data from the National PKU Alliance is already going into the data and analytics platform. Again, we're having so much enthusiasm for the data inflow here. Really pleased to see the illustration of the fact that the data analytics platform, the RDCA as a whole, but particularly this disease characterization space, it benefits all members of the community. But most especially the patients. Obviously, the scientists will be able to benefit from this. The patient organizations will benefit from this. It's a real multilateral effort, but most especially the ultimate goal and the reason this entire effort has been undertaken is for the patients with the diseases. And I think it's been made very clear how this effort benefits everyone. I already made this point, but I think it's great to see how organically in the discussion, I think it was Steve who pointed out this kind of commercial scale industry relevance of this effort, that it's not just science for science sake, but it's focused with obvious relevance to drug development, and it made it kind of an easy decision to participate and to support the efforts. Also organically emerging the discussion, I didn't have a discussion ahead of time with anybody, but it was noted that there is this possibility of identifying unanticipated relationships to other diseases. Aggregated, powerful data like this, taken as a whole, it may in some circumstances redefine our understanding of diseases. In diseases we may have come to think of phenotypically, we may gain great pathophysiological insight into and recognize, as in many diseases, that the clinical presentation of an underlying mechanism can be quite heterogeneous. That may reinforce the points I made earlier about the opportunity for precision targeting of future therapeutic development. The emphasis on data sharing was strong and really important. Many people know that I champion data sharing. It's absolutely critical. I think we heard from, I think it was Jeff from Horizon, pointed out something, very, very special. The interface, the nexus of a commercial entity with a disease-specific third party, FARA, and a disease-independent third party, the RDCA-DAP, and how that benefited that large-scale, commercial-scale drug development. That was a really precise example of exactly what we're after here. And, FARA is a tremendous example of a disease-specific third party who immediately bought into the promise of the Rare Disease Cures Accelerator program, having already had a substantial database focused on the disease, and having already identified a partnership with the Critical Path Institute just prior to the formation of the RDCA-DAP. FARA went all in. The founder of FARA, Ron Bartek, who works tirelessly on behalf of the patients and is a critical ally in drug development for Friedreich's, really made sure that those data are being leveraged as well as can be. And again, we heard somebody from the industry side speak specifically to how that interface between RDCA-DAP with FARA's support on the disease-specific level allowed and is continuing to allow growth in that space, and we're all hopeful that that's going to come to bring treatments to those patients who obviously need them so desperately. We also heard about an interesting example using those same data. I think we heard about this from one of the Critical Path Institute members about how one of the pilot studies was exploring the dynamics of this modified FAR scale. This was facilitated by FARA's contribution, and again, is a fantastic example of the power of these data. I can tell you affirmatively that those explorations, that those data that FARA acquired and fed back into understanding of that particular scale, they've already influenced drug development in this space, and we speak to sponsors about these. So it's very, very hands-on practical knowledge. These various examples and discussions should make it unambiguous that it's critical that we have as much data as possible. One of the great advantages of this effort is that it is a point was made, I think, by Jane. It's collaborative, not competitive, we saw, if people have the master slide deck and they go back to slide 29, what a powerful slide Jane had, talking about just in 1 year a summary of what's been done in this space in terms of, it looks like, 150 or so individual talks to various patient, industry, and academic groups, international interactions, hundreds of individual people, data sets. It's been a tremendous outreach. The growth has been phenomenal. It's outstripping all expectations, and I think it's due to the dedication of everyone who's working together on this, both from within the RDCA-DAP organization itself, as well as all of us who are working tirelessly to pursue it. This notion of collaboration without competition is critical. It's wonderful that we can bring data into DAP without asking people to choose where their data go. There's no reason the data can't be contributed to any number of sources just because they're contributed to RDCA-DAP. There's no exclusivity associated with that. So it's a very pure effort, and it's very friendly to all forms of data coming in, whether they be industry with the various issues associated with that, or whether they be individually obtained academic data, which of course have their own sets of issues. Whatever the provenance of the data, this effort is able to receive them and then leverage those larger data sets to increase the power of our knowledge and thus translate to rapid, efficient drug development, ever increasing. So I think that's probably enough to wrap up. People have been listening to a virtual meeting for a long time. This, like many of our meetings that I've been doing virtually, I think is wise to recognize that people can only sit in the front of a computer for so long. I think it helps us get to the salient points more quickly. It's awkward to end the meeting without an opportunity for questions and further discussions, but I've been told that I should wish everyone well. I'm extremely proud of everybody that's working on this effort. Really, really strong efforts, consistent efforts, multilateral efforts coming from all spheres. The discussion today has been inspirational, and I feel like as excited as I was about this effort a year ago, it's just increased much as our knowledge will as a result of the RDCA-DAP. So thank you for attending the meeting. I look forward to discussing its benefits and opportunities with people in the future. And again, I think I'm supposed to say have a nice afternoon, and thank you for attending, and that concludes the meeting. All right, best wishes, everyone.